got it.
All right, cool.
No.
There's a few obviously joining us a bit later from the EPA kids.
Yeah, so the rest of the ones are being recorded automatically. I've just set this one up, and I've just allowed all the kids to join us now. So here they come. Let's wait for a few of them to finish connecting.
Jamie, Ruby.
Morning, everybody. John, I'm going to make a note of names. Would you mind making a note as well as we go while I'm doing my...
Yeah, of course.
My chat. That'd be great. Thanks, mate. Morning all. Just going to give it another 30 seconds to allow people's audio to connect before I go through the details for today. Put most of you on mute, which is good. I'm just going to unmute Joao and John because we need them. There we go. So, yeah, welcome to the virtual DiSE induction day, guys. It's been quite a heavy summer for all of us, but especially for you guys going through your GCSEs and all the palaver with that situation. And I hope it hasn't affected you guys too much, and you're kind of excited and looking forward to getting started with your new ventures academically and also with the new handball season. It's all going to be looking a little bit different for everyone at the moment, so I want to go through a little bit of those details shortly. Before I do that, I'm going to introduce the two other staff members who are on the screen with me. We've got several other staff members who I'll go through shortly, but I'm going to give this opportunity to first John, who's my colleague from Loughborough College, just to go through a little bit about himself and why he's on the call, because you guys haven't met him yet.
You want me to do that now, or should I do that when I...
Let's do it now. Let's do it now, John, please, and then we'll come.
Okay, so hi everyone, and good to see you. I know there's a few familiar faces, and hopefully... Cal's nodding. Cal, you share a birthday with my daughter, by the way. Just I thought I'd get that one in. So a couple of weeks' time, we'll celebrate that one. So I work with Bobby and the DiSE handball team. I work at Loughborough College. Don't live in Loughborough, just to declare that straight away. So I know 9 of you are on the call are moving to Loughborough either today or one of you is already in Loughborough. So I won't see you. Sorry?
Hannah's in the car on the way. You can see that.
All right, okay. Yeah, and I think a few others are en route at the moment. So I won't physically see you that often, but DiSE is all I do. DiSE isn't all I do, but DiSE is all I do at work. So I am available quite regularly and hopefully quite responsive to anything you need. So I'll share my contact details with you a bit later, which you would have also got in an email. So do feel free to use those, and we'll talk about how not to abuse those maybe if that arises, but I kind of give you the benefit of the doubt at the moment. And DiSE is basically something I've lived in and breathed for the last 10 years or so. So it used to be the Advanced Apprenticeship in Sporting Excellence, and I've worked closely with a number of different sports and more recently with Bobby and other NGBs about getting this program up and running, and obviously working directly with the handball program so far. So really good to meet you virtually and look forward to supporting you for the next 2 years and beyond that as well. So thanks.
Thanks, John. And yeah, for those of you that, well, none of you will know this, but we've been partnered with Loughborough College for about 2.5 years now, delivering our DiSE program. We've partnered with several colleges before that, and it's been the best thing we ever did was changing to work with Loughborough because of the kind of standard and the professionalism that the Loughborough guys bring to the DiSE program. So we're excited to have John on board with us again for this year. And there will be some other staff members from Loughborough College that you'll meet along the way. This afternoon you'll meet Casper Faramond, who's a psychologist who's been working with us for a few years directly with England Handball and now more directly with Loughborough College, and Matt Dixon, who's the nutritionist who's working through Loughborough College as well. But guys, probably more importantly, not that I want to diminish the other subjects that you guys do, but from our perspective, we are here for handball purposes, and I'm delighted to have Joao Castro on the call with us this morning, who's still in Lisbon at the moment, but will be moving to Loughborough this week. I'm picking him up from the airport on Thursday, and yeah, Joao, do you want to take this time just to say hi to everybody and maybe give a bit of a background about where you've come from, who you've worked with, and yeah, anything you want to say?
Yeah, thank you, Bobby. Hi, everyone. I'm João. Like Bobby said, we'll be very close to a lot of you in Loughborough College, as your coach, as your handball coach. And I'm, like Bobby said, far away from you right now. It's the first time we met, but we have now just one big thing that connects us a lot. So we are very close of one big passion that I have, and I'm sure that you have also, that is handball. I'm passionate about this sport. I'm sure you are also, because you are here. So it's a passion that we both have, and I'm excited, very excited to be in this project, and start very soon with some of you and all of you weeks after that. For me, I'm from Portugal. I've worked for 20 years as a coach till now, and the last 10 I work at a professional level in major clubs and national teams. Most of these 10 years I work at Benfica here in Portugal, in the professional team, with European competition, a lot of European players, some well known. And the last 2 years I went to Saudi Arabia to work in a national team, and then last year I went another trip and was in Spain, in Liga Zabal with Guadalajara. So I have worked with a lot of good players, well-known players that we will talk for sure. A lot of stories about them in this couple of months, but a lot with a lot of young players that now are in the national teams of Portugal, of Spain, and other national teams. So for me, it's very important to work with young players to develop them, and I'm sure that if you have that eager, you'll be improving a lot this couple of years, and hope that I will be part of your development.
Thanks for that, João. And one of the things that I just want to add into João's comments is that he has expertise in working with goalkeepers, as well as great expertise of working with the outfield players as well. So it's something that really stood out for us in terms of his CV, to give the GK some additional support on not having to listen to my monotone voice all the time about the goalkeeping subject. So yeah, it's great to have you on board, João, and you guys are really going to profit from his experience. And he's not kidding when he says he's worked with some of the best players in the world. So yeah, I'm sure there'll be some stories that he'll come out a lot along the way about that. So back to today's agenda, we're just going to go through a couple of bits in terms of how we are running the program. So just bear with me a sec while I bring my presentation up. And this stuff is all going to be shared and it's being recorded, so please don't stress if you're not writing stuff down and taking all the information in, because I know some of you might be distracted through either traveling or whatever else is going on today. But the big discussions myself and John have been having over the summer with the other tutors who I'll introduce shortly is, what is the DiSE program for? And over the years, many sports, and ourselves included, might have been guilty of, we get you guys to do some extra handball training, which is great, but we also might have been guilty of just getting you guys through the qualification as best we can, which might be how you feel when you're at school, with your teachers trying to get you through exams and completing the coursework and doing all those kind of bits. And for us, it's a big thing that we're trying to actually make as big an impact on your lives as possible. And I've used this kind of analogy: if the only tool you have is a hammer, you'll see every problem as a nail. And the idea behind that is that we want to try to give you guys as many tools as possible to deal with the challenges you're going to be faced in your life. And at the time that we're in terms of the current context, it's really important for us that we take this opportunity to have that impact. So that John will introduce some stuff later on, I believe, about Believe Perform. Is that right, John. So there'll be some stuff and some bits and pieces you'll pick up from that and from Casper and from all the tutors that work on the program that you can use in your day-to-day lives, your academic lives, your sporting lives, that and your personal lives, hopefully, that will help develop you as a person. And we've had some great feedback actually from students who've just left us this year with regards to that. So yeah, fingers crossed we can only get better at what we do in terms of making that impact and giving you guys some more impactful and tools that you can apply to your daily lives. On the presentation that I'll send across, there's an opportunity for you to access the qualification framework, which gives you all the details about the subjects and stuff like that. It's very, very heavy document. It's like 80 pages long. I'm not expecting you to read that. It's purely there if you're interested to have a look at it at any point. And those of you that want some bedtime reading, feel free to have a little sort through, but it's available for you to access on that hyperlink where it says key areas there. But essentially the program is about understanding the subject areas, but also developing excellence in, which is about applying and getting those tools that we just mentioned. In terms of how the staffing works, is we've got several tutors and assessors. You'll know Chris McDermott, Sue Whitehead and Liz Roberts probably from your time within the Regional Academy programs, but we've also got Nathan Kirwan, who works with us. He's been working purely on the DiSE program for the last 7 years, I think. He's been with me from the start in 2012. And he is, extremely knowledgeable person when it comes to sports and elite performance. Doesn't have a great handball background, although he does have the handball coaching qualifications. But he's a great asset to us. So these guys will be delivering various workshops for you guys across the time that you're with us. But your main assessor is Joao. So any work that's submitted will come to Joao, and he'll be your main point of contact for any work that you guys submit or that you're putting together. And Joao was also going to be obviously the performance coach. So at most of the handball sessions, and we'll come to those, how they're going to be set up in a moment, Joao will lead on most of that, but with some support from other coaches, because whilst we want Joao to be impacting you guys as much as possible, we also know that we need to raise the standards of the workforce that we've currently got. So Joao will be assisted on lots of occasions by other coaches as we go through. John's already introduced himself. You know who I am. Most of you will know who John Pearce is, who's the lead safeguarding officer for England Handball. This is all going to be going out in a bigger document, which is the Talent Pathway Handbook, which has got all contact details and stuff in as well. And that'll be sent out by Jan Atkinson-Carr, who's our performance administrator. So just to give you guys a kind of view on who's who. If there's any questions about who staff is and who's this person, then feel free to drop myself or John a message and just ask. I've been contacted by X person or whatever, but you shouldn't really be contacted by anyone other than the people that have been introduced to you now, although you will, like I said, be meeting Casper and Matt a bit later on for those. And I'm not sure if Max is still working with us, John, in terms of the physical capabilities units when we do testing. With us. Yeah, we'll see about that. But yeah, we've got other people that come in and work with us on various other projects as well. And then in terms of key dates for the year, this stuff would have been shared with you guys in advance. But just so you know, these are the dates, the Sundays of these weekends. So the 25th, 22nd, 3rd, and 21st of those dates are generally when the DiSE weekends would have been, the DiSE camps would have taken place at Stoke Mandeville, but because of the current situation, we've included the previous Saturday because we might have to be spacing out the training sessions to, some venues won't let us have 100 athletes on site at one time, so we might have to have 50 on the Saturday and 50 on the Sunday and stuff like that. So you just need to bear in mind that those are the weekends that we're allocating there. In terms of that England handball calendar, there's no clashes with any club activity, so you haven't got to worry about, what if I've got a match and stuff like that. No, there's no junior handball activity on those weekends, and in fact I think I'm right in saying that all the leagues shut down on those weekends, so even if you're in a senior team you won't be called up to play. The July camp is TBC, but essentially that is like it's a portfolio kind of day like we have today. So it will be an opportunity for either catching up on any bits and pieces in terms of one-to-ones you might need to be having with various support staff. It might be an opportunity to catch up with Joao or John or myself about how the program's been for you this year. But John will go into a few more details about that, I'm sure, in a second. But that's kind of a day that we used for athletes who have fallen behind to catch up, or just to have a little bit of a check-in with everybody to see how it's all going. So they're the key dates for the year. But in terms of the program delivery, as you guys do appreciate, we're in a massive a situation that we've never really faced before. So the context is changing completely for us. So in terms of how the program's delivered, and when this was kind of put across to you in the presentations, it was that all the work and all the content delivery was done on the DiSE camp, so on the actual Sunday that you would be at the camp. Well, as a result of COVID, we might have to rethink a little bit how we do that. And certainly with the increase in opportunities we've got in terms of using Zoom and Microsoft Teams and all those kinds of platforms, we're looking to increase the support that you guys get throughout the year. So it's a bit more consistent and a little bit, probably a bit more impactful again. So in the build up to each camp, there will be a webinar or a workshop delivered on the particular topic that will be delivered. So let's say, for example, in the October camp, you'll be having let's say it's a strength and conditioning session on that weekend, or a strength and conditioning workshop. You'll actually get delivered that content a few weeks beforehand online. Now that won't necessarily mean that you have to be online for it. It would probably be a case that if you can access it online, then get on there at the time, but it will be recorded and shared with you so you guys can see what the content is, and any learning outcomes that need to be appreciated. And that again will impact on the workload that you guys have at the camps. So some of the feedback that we've had from your predecessors, so the second years and the guys that just left us, is that on the DiSE camps on the Sundays, when there's 4 squads training, and then there's 3 workshops that you've got to attend, there's very little room for breathing space and to actually digest a lot of the stuff. You're literally bouncing from court to workshop, from workshops back to the court for more training. So we're actually going to try and free up a little bit more time for you on the Sundays to make it a bit more meaningful, a little bit more enjoyable, and more manageable ultimately, and probably more manageable for us as well in terms of that, because those days can be quite hectic, and John can attest to that, I'm sure. And then the only other kind of thing for us to mention is that, all that being said, with the current climate that we're in, we are certainly the October camp is going to be decentralized. And what that means is, up to this point, the DiSE camps that we run have all dovetailed with GB camps. So all the age groups will come in to Stoke Mandeville on that day and train, not together, but the DiSE players would be embedded with GB sessions, the ones that aren't selected, and it would be 120 people on site, basically, that kind of figure. Well, as I mentioned before, we can't really see how that's going to work in the current climate. So we're going to decentralize it by having the GB squads train independently. So the F-17s might be training in Manchester, and the M-18s might be training in Loughborough, for example. But the DiSE players that aren't selected will go out and be embedded into the GB sessions at those camps. So if you're on the DiSE program, there might not be the bespoke DiSE camp for you to attend, but you'll be embedded into the handball training, because ultimately that's what we're here for, is to get you guys developed as handball players. So we're going to, it won't, in essence, it won't actually make that big a difference in terms of what you're getting handball wise, but in terms of the logistics, it makes things a little bit more complicated for myself, who does a lot of the planning, and also potentially for those of you that are traveling distances to attend. And Stoke Mandeville, although it's a distance for some of you to travel, it's the most equidistant point that we've got in the country with the facilities. So it's been brilliant for us over the years. But we're going to have to try and adapt to the current climate that we're in. So hopefully you guys will appreciate the challenge that we face, and we'll find a way to make the handball side of it work as best we can. But the good news is that places like Stoke Mandeville are hoping that by November they'll be able to open up their doors a little bit more to our demands. So fingers crossed that we don't have any further issues with the current pandemic, and that we can actually get back to some sort of normality sooner rather than later. So that's enough of me boring you to death with the program details. I'm going to hand over to John, who's going to give a little bit more of a information about Loughborough College's role, and a bit about what they do with the DiSE program. So John, you've got the functionality to share your screen.
Okay, thank you. So let me go. I've got that many windows open that I can't see where my presentation is. Just bear with me a second. It is open. So let's go share screen. Let's try again. Show all windows. Scroll down to page 2. And there we go. So there should be appearing in 3, 2, 1 my PowerPoint. Just give me a nod if you can see that. Bob, if you can just respond.
Yes, mate, yeah.
Let me go to slideshow from beginning. So there are 38, you might have seen if you're eagle-eyed, there are 38 slides. Some of them are very quick, some of them are a bit longer, but again, we'll share all of this detail with you. So again, welcome to the England Handball DiSE program, and welcome to Loughborough College. I've done my best as I was putting this presentation together to try and give the indication that this is a totally blended approach, but equally aware of the fact that there are several things that we do as Loughborough College require you to do. So there's a little bit of colour coding in this that you'll probably pick up on. And again, that's not to say that we're two disjointed organisations that are working and coming together. Is we're trying to dovetail this as much as possible. But the DiSE programme itself is quite a unique programme. And again, having worked on the DiSE programme and its predecessor, the ACE programme, for the last 10 years, I've kind of seen how this has evolved and grown and got continually better. And I guess to reflect back on what Bobby said at the beginning, because I hit a big birthday a couple of months ago, I've kind of had a bit of a chance to sit back and reflect on life, the universe and everything else like that, without getting too heavy this early on a Sunday morning. But certainly one of the things we want to do is to make this as positive an experience for you. And certainly looking down the list of names, Alex T, if you go and sort of talk to your older brother Joe, who's just one of our first DiSE alumni to get through the programme, this will be a slightly different experience. But then you guys are kind of used to that different experience anyway. You know, well done for getting through the last 6 months. Well done for demonstrating some robustness, some resilience, some adaptability, some flexibility. You know, I continue to be blown away by your ability as a group of young people, and I said this to the guys a moment ago, ability to adapt and respond and just get on with it. And I know I'm going to be the first one to say the new normal today, and I'm sure others will say it throughout the day. But to be able to cope with it, you know, impressed with those of you that have responded this morning through WhatsApp. Those of you that have jumped onto Zoom and had a quick chat as you've been doing some of your enrolment stuff. So again, I think the key thing, and this is a message I've preached as I've gone around the country over the last 10 years to talk to ACE athletes, DiSE athletes in a lot of other sports. I think the biggest skill that this can actually give you is the ability to communicate effectively. And those learners, players that have been most successful on this program, and probably Joao and Bobby will testify to this through their sporting experience, have been the ones that have been able to communicate effectively. And that's a two-way, multi-directional process without getting into the theory of it right now. But do, like I said to the other group, do kind of use us as a resource. We're here to support you collectively as a group, collectively as a GB squad and a wider DiSE squad, and directly as individuals as well, you know. And we want to try and flex and use the technology to make this as individualized for you as possible. And you know, and it's a great partnership that Bobby and England Handball have led with us, with Loughborough University, and they're a slightly different organisation. So although it's quite good to have the L word on your CV whenever you're talking to people in the world of sport, that you've been to Loughborough, whether it's the college or the university, and we're certainly an outstanding college as well. But you know, utilise the great work and the resource in Joao to support you through this programme. So I'll flash my details up again. Welcome, congratulations again. Just a few bits of information, and hopefully I've highlighted the key bits for you here. There is a short test afterwards. That's not too serious, but I'm going to maybe test to see what you've picked up, and we'll probably utilise the chat function for that. As Bobby has mentioned, you're on this 20 to 22 cohort. It's a level 3 diploma in sporting excellence, and it's focused on handball performance. We'll develop your knowledge and performance within the sport, and that's our main function, you know. And again, we are aware, as Bobby said, that there is an element to evidence your work and get a portfolio of evidence and complete some workbooks if you've talked to any of your peers the year above or the year before that about what DiSE is. But trying to get you to perform at your highest level. That's what we're here for, you know, and again, aware that as 16, 17-year-old young people, there are thousands of things going on in your life. So, you know, we'll back off when it's appropriate. We'll also push a little bit when it's appropriate as well. So here's the first task, and I'm going to give you 100 seconds to do this. Can you write in the chat box a brief definition of what you think excellence is? So the time starts now. So who's going to be first to respond? After Bobby. Okay, thanks, Jake. So I'll read them out as well as they come through, so you don't have to worry about trying to read as well as type. So excellence, professionalism and dedication. Bobby started off with excellence is a habit. I think there's a quote that's associated to that, Bobby. Excellence is something which is done at the highest standard, to be outstanding in what you do. Talent and quality. I've missed a few here because the things scrolled quicker. Let's maximize that. Caitlin said that. Excellence is achieving your best from Miles. Talent and quality from Lucy. I'm going to mispronounce Daisy's name. Probably excellence, ability to be able to perform at your best. Hannah, putting 100% in no matter what the circumstance. Cal, mastery. Ruby, skill and commitment. Alicia, the best you can be. Again, another mispronunciation. Serene, excellence is the best you can be. Ned, achieving the highest standard. Matt, being outstanding in your field. Abby, performing at a level that is exceedingly good is excellence. Sounds like Mr. Kipling's Cakes. You might need to ask your parents about that one. Mike, going above and beyond your comfort zone. Like that one. So I like all of these, but I particularly like that one about stretching and challenging yourself. Noah, excellence is consistent ability to play well. Okay, and we're time up. So that's 100 seconds. Excellence is consistent ability to play well. Excellence is performing to the highest standard you can in every way. Achieving everything possible. Okay, and I think I missed a few from the top. Just scanning through. I think I've said everything there. Apologies, there's a little bit of background noise as my wife and 4-year-old have just come back briefly and they'll be going back out again. So yeah, some really good, I'm sure you'll meet my daughters at some point, so apologies for that. Really good responses there. And I think one of the things that nobody has said is it's about handball. It's about your performance on court, even though that's why we're here today. And again, I think, you know, our aim is to get you to be as excellent as you can, as good as you can be in the moment with everything you've got at that moment, you know, and maximizing your ability is really what we're here for. So again, I see our role as being in the background, sometimes being the guide by the side, supporting you to achieve that as often as you possibly can. You know, and certainly, as Bobby kicked off with, developing habits and underpinning behaviors without getting, again, too heavy and maybe a little bit touching on some of the psychology, to get you to do things naturally without thinking, but with intention. And again, that's probably a bit of an oxymoron right there. But we'll discuss that as we go through, and we'll work with you to help you to develop your excellence. So what I'm aiming to do, and Bobby, give me a deadline of a time in which to have this done by. Conscious that I know the next session's at 12, and I don't want to go anywhere near 12 o'clock. Give me a deadline of when to finish by.
Okay, so if you can be done by 11:15, that's a pretty decent time.
Excellent.
Is that all right?
So I'll aim to beat that then, because I like a challenge. It's a bit like when you're trying to achieve any goal, isn't it? You set a deadline and you want to actually try and achieve it before then, if possible. But but you have to, be adaptable and flexible. So these are the 7 things that hopefully we're going to cover in this brief session, and there are some tasks for you to go away and do, which I'll also direct you to, and I'll probably share in the chat box. And again, I'll probably ping this out via email to you directly when we finish, so that you can go and do that. We're aware that there are some gaps in today, and again, aware that people like, as she's in screen, Hannah and others are en route. So we understand you may not complete these today, but we'll certainly maybe set a kind of an agreed deadline as to when these things need to be done by, and obviously a process for doing those. So those are the things on screen that we're gonna cover today. First of all, and let's hope this works, I'm going to play a short welcome from our principal. So can you see the video there before Joe starts, or else do I need to share another screen? I need to share another screen, don't I? Can you see that video?
No.
No.
Can you see?
Yeah.
No.
A web page now? Right. So here we go.
Hi all, my name's Jo Martin. I'm the new principal and chief executive here at Loughborough College. I just wanted to personally welcome to Loughborough College. We are delighted that you've joined us as part of your educational experience. Those of you that are returning to Loughborough College since lockdown, I hope that you're pleased to be back and that you found yourselves in a safe and welcoming environment. I'm going to talk through our executives, the new strategic values of the organisation, and a little bit about our campus experience. Loughborough College has launched a new strategy to take us into the 2020s. Our vision is that we broaden horizons, transform lives, we shape futures. With a mission to transform and enrich lives through lifelong learning, empowering the workforce of tomorrow. We want to make sure that you can be the very best you can be. We're a values-driven organisation, so our culture that is inclusive, supportive and welcoming embodies our values, but we want to stretch ourselves so that we thrive on innovation and achievement. We hope that you understand our values, we hope that you respect them, and when we're on our college campus, these are the things that we want our behaviours to mirror. Being respectful, embracing the rich diversity of our college community, and ensuring that we're constantly testing ourselves, being forward-thinking, successful, and to do that, it's about empowering each other and taking ownership and accountability. Our executive team are here to ensure that the college strategy translates into operational actions and targets, and to support our staff team. Harry Kermey is the Vice Principal for Finance and Infrastructure, and that him and Colin, who's the Vice Principal for People and Planning, work together to run the business and the commercial side of our organisation. Helen Van Aert and Heather Clark are our assistant principals, and they are the main executive leads that we're working with staff and students to support teaching and learning, safeguarding, and ensure our academic standards and quality metrics are met. Ian Jones is my Director of Governance and Legal Affairs, and he works to the chair of our corporation, who is involved in supporting the strategy of the college and setting our direction, and Ian supports us on all legal matters as well. Working for you, we want to ensure we've got a safe and friendly learning environment within a secure campus. We hope to give you the best information to make choices around your learning journey and programme, and our environment is one that firmly promotes equality and respect. We want an inspirational learning journey, and to do that, we're spending £1 million on our college estate this year to ensure we're offering you the very best resources. We're incredibly proud to be a part of Loughborough Students' Union, as well as our Loughborough Sport brand, and they're key components for many of our sporting students, as well as those people that are engaged in our volunteering and our social enterprise projects. We know that employability is a key part of ensuring you make the very best of your future careers, and our team will support you on industry placements and careers. As a result of the hard work of our academic staff, we've seen some fantastic success rates in our exams this year, and we hope that through being highly ambitious for yourself and the people around you, that we can beat those results this year. In terms of the role you play, there's some real simple fundamentals around being part of our fantastic college community. We'd ask really kindly that you attend your lessons on time, you turn up prepared and ready to learn, being respectful and productive, as well as being healthy to promote fantastic well-being and open to learning are the key fundamentals of being a Loughborough College student. But we want more than that for you. We want you to be brilliant. Take ownership of your learning. Make the very best use of feedback. I know when I was at college and university, I certainly didn't check my assignments, my feedback. And actually, I think that was a key thing that would have enabled me to stretch myself even further. Never stop improving. Learn more, do more, remember more. Constantly using that feedback, using your learning to be the best you can be are key components of a brilliant experience here as a learner. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this presentation, and I hope that you have a brilliant experience with us.
Cool. Did that come through okay?
Yes, I could hear it, mate.
Okay, good. Again, we'll share that. I'm not quite sure because it's linked to our internal processes whether you'll be able to access that, but I'll try and export that as well so that you can also look at that. So some further information, and obviously before I move on, that doesn't necessarily directly apply to all of you. I'll talk about the 9 England Performance Academy learners who have actually moved to or moving to Loughborough College. So you'll obviously be directly on campus and will be directly impacted by some of the things that Joe talked about there, and probably get a chance to watch this presentation again. It's only 4 minutes and 20, so having watched it 2 or 3 times now, I think it's always really good, and I take something away from it slightly different every single time. But we will also register you as Loughborough College students, so you will get a Loughborough College lanyard. And again, I'll highlight this now and maybe mention it in a moment. On the back of the card that we eventually get to you, and we're working out a way how to do this, given that we're not physically going to be seeing most of you in person. There's also information related to safeguarding. Now, obviously, as Bobby has talked about, JP is the person through England Handball to talk about safeguarding issues. If you feel that it's something that JP can't answer and directly relates to your DiSE qualification, then again, you can go directly to that number, and you'll have the links on the Loughborough College website, and also you'll be able to come through me. But again, you know, there's lots of people that you can contact to support you. Some will be in the background and you might not have anything to do with. So just to reinforce who we are then and our role in the DiSE Handball program. So we're what's called the learning provider for the Sporting Excellence qualification, the DiSE qualification, and we've been doing that for over 11 years at Loughborough College, almost since the program started. And the way that the qualification is done is that each of the sports that engage in DiSE, and there are over 20 of them, and there are 1,550 places that will be starting in the next couple of months across all of those 20 sports, is that they work through a college to provide the expertise around some elements of funding, elements of assessment, elements of verification of that evidence, to facilitate you getting a certificate, a diploma at the end of your program. And that is typically normal. It also means that obviously for the majority of you, you'll also be registered with a school or college as part of your educational experience. That's really important that stays in place. So it's important for you to communicate with us should there be any changes in your school or college status. And again, we're used to there being, for some of you, some changes occurring, but please do keep us updated. You can see our Ofsted rating, you know, which again kind of links with a few of the comments about excellence. So we would classify ourselves, and Ofsted have classified us as being outstanding. And again, I think, you know, there's lots of comparisons between excellence and outstanding that we you know aim to aim for every single day. And as Bobby has alluded to, we do have some other staff that will come in, and clearly with the likes of Bobby and Joao and the handball coaches that you'll be working with, there's significant expertise in both the DiSE and ACE delivery and also in elite sport development. And I know, you know, Bobby also does some work within football. I'm going to call it proper football, and maybe I'll link back to that in a short while later on another day, because I deal with another form of football. But you know, we work across sports, and personally, as I'll talk about briefly and show you a quick image in a moment, I work directly with the Women's Super League academies. The Women's Super League's kicked off yesterday. and their academy program has been in place for 2 years. So I work and deal with colleagues in the FA very, very closely. I also work with the Rugby Football League and female rugby football in particular. I also work with snow sports, so again, a slightly different sport, bit out of my comfort zone. So I challenge and stretch myself working with those athletes. Fortunately, don't have to get on the snow with them or on the ice with them. Although maybe if it's appropriate to do so and it's safe to do so, you know, maybe I can get on the court with you at some point and show maybe some skills as well, where you can teach me a thing or two about playing, not involved in any of the kind of contact those stuff. I didn't realize until recently how physical in terms of contact and collision handball can be, although I should probably know that from my conversations with Bobby, Chris and others. So I also work with those sports. I also work with looking at my list of folders on there, which are all color coded, which tells me what they are. I also work quite closely with golf. So, you know, that gives a different sport experience, which again, I can draw some stuff for and share with you all as well. Those are all the 13 sports that we actually work with. So again, you can see, and I wouldn't say some sports are bigger than others, but some sports are more popular than others. Some have larger numbers than others. So, for example, we work with 100 in our WSL FA cohort. We work with 10 in our snow sport cohort. Handball and handball, volleyball, golf are all about the similar sort of size. And then we also have some huge sports in terms of British athletics, England hockey as well. So our staff collectively have a significant number of experience and experiences that we draw upon. We work with probably over half of the DiSE learners that will come onto the program in the next month. More than half of them work with Loughborough College. The second largest college that deliver DiSE, SGS College in Bristol, which obviously is near to some of you Bristol and Stroud, so it's obviously near to some of you in Gloucestershire, is a college I actually worked for 11 years beforehand on the DiSE program. So I probably sort of span across almost 1,000 DiSE learners and understand what they're going through with what they're doing at that different college. But my focus is obviously directly on our Loughborough College students and directly on you, the Handball group. What is DiSE then? So it is a level 3 BTEC qualification. So you will get this in addition to the other qualifications that you do. And again, we appreciate the challenges that you'll have over the next 20 months to complete your qualifications, with schools and colleges adjusting to the COVID pandemic. And obviously, you know, again, well done for getting through what you've gone through this year and over the last 6 months. And don't let anybody tell you that you've had stuff given to you on a plate. You've worked incredibly hard. Your schools have done an incredibly robust job of getting those predicted grades through to the exam boards. And, you know, you've got everything that you've worked for. If you feel like you're a bit disappointed because you didn't get the opportunity and the chance to shine in those exams, rest assured from someone who's worked in education all of his life, I've never gone out into the real world and got a proper job. You know, ultimately, your GCSEs are just the first launch point for what you do next. And your A-levels, your BTECs are the next launch point for what you do next. And whether you stay in academia and go on to university or college or whatever else you do, it's not necessarily what you did 10, 15 years ago that counts. It's what you're doing now and how you're continually showing progress. And again, I think this pandemic, with the use of the increased use of Zoom and Teams and IT and remote working, have actually put a focus on not what qualifications you've got, but what you're actually doing and what your behaviours are. And again, that's our role, is to try and support you on those. And then again, a note down at the bottom of that one, just saying that you must be in full-time post-16 education for the duration of the DiSE program. That's just a funding requirement that we're stuck with. So again, if there are any changes to that, you must let us know as soon as possible. And somebody is doing some annotation on the screen, which is great. What I would suggest you do, I think that's what that line came up for there. What I'd suggest you do, again, we're going to share this with you, is take screenshots. So either screenshot on your phone, if you need to, or screenshot on your computer. Normally, if you're on a Windows computer, it's the Windows tab plus the print screen. We'll then put it into a folder that has all your screenshots, and you can come back and refer to it then. But I will send this out once I get an opportunity to ping it to you and your parents via email. Okay, so what topics covered? We'll go on to that very quickly, but I think this is an important quote for you to read. And certainly what you'll hear a lot of us talking about, and a lot of people in the wider sporting world will talk about, an element of being dual career. We know for a fact that you are very unlikely to make a career and to make a living out of just playing handball. You know, I think Bobby and Joao can testify to that, that once your handball playing career is over, and hopefully it's a long and fruitful one, and possibly it may be one abroad where you can be a professional, it is going to end. Bobby and I were chatting about the London 2012 team a couple of weeks ago. As I got into my watching, I'm ashamed to say, my first ever handball game after a year and a bit of working with Bobby and the handball team. And it was the Facebook, if you go to the England Handball Facebook page, it was Bobby, Chris McDermott and John Pearce's commentary of their final game in the London 2012 games. And as Bobby and I were chatting about that experience and how great I thought their insights were, not just from a tech-tac point of view, but also from what they'd gone through and their journeys within the sport, and how, I guess, the landscape has increased and developed for England handball players. But as I went through the squad, you know, from Bobby all the way down to Chris, maybe that's numerical or the order I've got it in here. But I think only one of those players, Seb, is still playing handball.
That's
Is
right.
that correct, Bobby?
Yeah.
And Seb was
just from the men's team.
Yeah, and Seb was 21 at the time, so he was 5 years older than you guys are now, and is still playing. And the rest of those guys, who's the next youngest that I've got on my list? So Gawain Vincent was 22, so he's now 30 and no longer playing handball, as far as we're aware. So so your handball career is going to be quite short. And I'll put this plug in here whilst I can. Dan Mcmillan, who many of you may be aware of, if you've got the 50 pence piece from the 2012 Olympics, Dan is actually the person whose image was used for that. So Dan tells me, and promotes on all the stuff he shares. But I used to coach Dan in American football. So I coached an Olympian, albeit one in a different sport, before he became talented and obviously transferred to handball. So Dan is no longer playing, he's no longer playing handball as well. Was working in the handball world a few years ago. But for you guys, it's, hopefully you've got a fruitful career in handball in terms of both what you do from a professional point of view, what maybe you do as a job. We're always looking and hoping to develop people who in years to come might replace Joao, might replace Bobby, might replace me. Because someone's got to do that, and it would be awesome if at some point it was you. I've got some experiences of other sports where there's a fencing coach who was an ex-DiSE athlete. There is a basketball coach. There are several basketball coaches who are ex-DiSE athletes, and they're doing some great work. And it's just really, great to see them having taken their experiences and moved it forwards. So really important to develop you as people and to give you some skills and behaviours and habits to be excellent all the time. Specifically, and again, as Bobby said, we'll share with you the link to the actual specification, which is a bit like a BTEC specification. It's a pass-fail qualification, and basically what you have to do is to cover some work and do some work and produce some evidence, write some answers, have some conversations, some professional discussions with Joao and the assessment team around these areas that you can see on the screen there. Okay, so although we've kind of put them into these separate little hexagons rather than boxes, we appreciate that there is a crossover between a lot of these things. So Matt Dixon is going to talk to you about nutrition later this afternoon. He may touch a little bit upon anti-doping, because that's something that you ingest. Not hopefully that you're ingesting doping substances, but it's about being aware of what you're putting into your body. And obviously the rules around anti-doping as well, which we'll come back and give you some information on and update your knowledge and understanding about. So there are these different topic areas that we will cover. When you look at the specification, if you think that there's anything in there that's outstanding and brilliant and excellent, then I take full responsibility for putting that in, because I was part of the team that helped develop that specification and have helped develop it over the last 11 years. If there's anything that you think is a bit repetitive, and there are some things that are a little bit, and perhaps you don't understand, then again, I take responsibility for those too, as being part of the kind of the lead steering group for putting that together. But do feel like you've got a resource in me to come back and ask any questions that you want. You know, I'm sure you've heard the phrase, no question is a stupid question. That's probably mostly true. But you don't know until you ask it, and it's better to ask the question, and I think I've got quite a lot of patience to respond to some quite simple questions where you probably already know the answer. But I think I'm of the mindset, I'll give you that benefit of the doubt and try and work collaboratively with you. Working and living in a house of 3 women for the last 6 months, I appreciate my place in the pecking order, and it's certainly developed and stretched my patience, I think. How we deliver Handball, as Bobby said, so this kind of just hopefully will coincide with what Bobby's put. We will have some specific online remote delivery days like today, and we're aiming to do 4 of those, September this year and next year, and July this year. Hopefully not the one in July 22, because we'll have finished your work by then. Again, aware of the wider landscape of educational qualifications and the fact that, nobody, and I mean nobody, knows what the exam landscape is going to look like this year, let alone in summer 2022. But we will attempt to get out of your way and get all your DiSE work completed, so that you can then focus on finishing off the other qualifications that you're doing. And maybe we'll, as we talked about this morning with the second year group, maybe we'll come together in July of your final year to do some celebration stuff. We won't just do that a bit online like we've done with this year's cohort that have just finished, but we'll actually either physically come together in person, or we'll do something remotely where we can celebrate your successful completion. We will also do some more regular monthly online remote workshops. So again, I'm going to call on Alex, because I know his brother Joe did this last year. It will be a different experience to what previous handball athletes have had. And obviously that ties in with the 8 camps over the 2 years. So it is very much a flexible, adaptable journey we're going to go on. We have a plan, but we know a plan is a plan, and any plan that you have, touching upon some of the stuff you'll do with goal setting a bit later on, is always going to change as time moves on, because things adapt, things we can't predict and are out of our control impact us. And again, it's our job to navigate that journey. Some of you who maybe have listened to a lot of sporting stuff in the last few months, if that's been your thing, we'll hear about something called the Rocky Road. The journey is the Rocky Road. We're on that. You've been on that, and life's a bit of a rocky road as well. Again, getting maybe a bit too heavy for this early on a Sunday morning. Evidence for the DiSE program, and again, I'm conscious of chucking loads of stuff at you, and I know only maybe 1% of this may go in, and that's perfectly fine. So if you do have any questions to follow up on, then come back to me over today or over the next 2 years, because that's what I'm here for. So we do evidence our learning and the qualification through a series of workbooks. So these are at the moment, and I'm doing some stuff in the background to see if I can facilitate and manipulate and adjust these as we go through, a series of Excel workbooks. So straight off the bat, it's really important, and I'll share these with you today as well. It's really important that you can access Office 365. You can access the Microsoft Office suite. If you have challenges with that, can you send me a message as soon as you possibly can? And again, as some of the guys have seen this morning, I'm quite happy and comfortable responding to WhatsApp messages. So I do have a work phone that I do also switch off at various points during the day and certainly during the night. It does live with me quite often, but sometimes I'm really good at leaving it here in my home office and not looking at it. But do feel free to use that, as well as if you want to do email, I'm quite happy to do that as well. But whatever way suits you, get in touch. So we'll send those out to you. But we also have a way of getting you access to Office 365, which kind of comes through a Loughborough College email, which I'll also talk about in a moment. That's in a slide to come. We will also ask you to keep a record of training and competition hours. Totally aware of where we are right now and obviously how the COVID pandemic is hitting us. What I would suggest you do, if you aren't already doing this, and it doesn't have to be necessarily you can't see that, I'll flash up in a moment. It doesn't have to be a Handball diary or a notebook, is to keep a record of all the training and competition you do from this point going forwards. Either put it in your phone and maybe even color code it so it stands out as a specific type of event. List all the training, list all the competition, list all the traveling you do to competition and training as well, because that's a significant amount of time that you put into this qualification and into your sport. We have a kind of like a requirement to ensure that you do 780 hours, guided learning hours they're called, over the course of the program. The majority of that will be through your practical on-court handball. Okay, a lot of it in your clubs, a lot that. Okay, so keep a record of what you're doing, and again, we'll work with you to make sure that there are ways for us to record that. We'll probably get into those over the next month or so as we speak with you collectively and also individually. We'll also be doing a series of progress reviews, so Joao will be leading on these, and I'll obviously give him some support because he's brand new to this process as well. So he won't be perfect straight away, but he will be excellent because he'll be striving to improve and will be giving it 100%. So these will happen every 10 to 12 weeks. And this is just basically just checking up on how things are with you, primarily from a non-handball perspective. But also, you know, we'll do those reviews with you around your handball performance as well, and help resolve maybe any underlying issues you've got that are appearing and impacting your on-court performance that probably might be things to do with organisation of how you manage your food. It might be how you deal with study habits. And we can, again, give you our level of support where is appropriate. And as I mentioned earlier, we'll also do some stuff around professional discussions where we'll do kind of more formalised conversations around some of the content of the DiSE programme. Okay, so quick break. Mini break, and again, conscious of the fact that I've got about 13 minutes left, but has anyone got any awareness of where any of these numbers have popped up so far? If you have, I'm quite happy for you to quickly unmute yourself and say, or if you want to put it in chat, then do that. Again, I'm going to give us a minute or so to chat on this one. So Luke has got 780 hours. Brilliant. Excellent. Well done, Luke.
Was the 64 the amount of UCAS points you get?
Brilliant, Cal. Excellent. So, yeah, that's equivalent to 2 C grades at A level. Thank you. Anyone else? So someone in the chat. 8 camps. Correct. Well done, Lucy. Anyone else? So there's another chat. So 20. So is that Angel? I don't want to say Angel. I think it's Angel. 20 months. Excellent. Dazia. Dazia. Go online and tell me how you pronounce that properly.
Deja.
Deja. That's why you've got the acute accent over the air, haven't you? Amazing. So I'll apologise, Deja, for all the times I get that wrong. Maybe you can think of some forfeit I have to do. Serene, is that how you pronounce your name? Has got 4 online delivery days.
Yes.
Is that correct? No, that's not correct, because that's actually 8 online delivery days. But I like the way you're thinking. So there was a 4 there, wasn't there? I'm going to leave that for now and not answer that question. So I'm going to leave you thinking on that one. We've still got a little bit to go through, but great. So again, just another thing about communication. So I know, speaking with the second years and having done some reviewing of learners on Twitter, which is one of the mediums that I use for social media. I don't know if a lot of you use Twitter or whether you're all on Instagram, which I've not yet managed to get into. I'm sure my 8-year-old will teach me the intricacies of that as she gets older and approaches her 9th birthday in the next couple of weeks. But we do have a Loughborough College Twitter account, so do feel free to follow that one. Do feel free, if you're on Twitter, to share stuff with the hashtag DiSE Handball. And we will retweet it where it's appropriate. What we don't do at the moment with this, because you're under 18 and because you are our learners, is we don't follow back at the moment, just simply because we don't want to necessarily provide anyone who might engage in some undesirable behaviour the ability to just look at our profile and see who we follow and kind of connect with you. We will obviously, with your consent, when you tag us into anything, we might share it back. We might take off links to your personal accounts. But again, we'll kind of manage that one as is appropriate. And although I manage that account, there are a number of my other colleagues at the college who also have access to that as well. And they're all DBS checked. They're all perfectly fine, including our marketing department. So if you do go on that medium, and if you do want to tag anything, hashtag DiSE Handball, then again, that would be great. Tag at England Handball onto that too, so that they're aware of the great work that we're doing, the excellent work we're doing. Okay, on to enrolment. So most of you have gone through this process. So I'm going to go through this fairly rapidly, but there are 2 things that you need to finish off doing. From the list that I looked at this morning, there were 6 of you that hadn't done part 2 of this, which is what I can directly access. About your additional information. So what I may do shortly is just ping you an individualized message just to say you're one of the 6. You probably know who you are, and it may have been that you've done it in the last hour or so and it hasn't come through to the system yet. But can you aim to complete that as a priority today? That's one of those things that come tomorrow when I log on and talk to colleagues at work in Loughborough. I'll go and do a check to see if that's been completed. So that's the priority that some of you have already done. I click onto that. What you'll need for the first one, again, this came out in an email, are those things. So you've seen that before, so I'll click on. I'll also highlight this and again talk to the fact that there are 9 of you who are at the college, so you guys are already on that one. But what that will generate for you is a 6-digit Loughborough College student number. So if your number was 1234556, which it's not going to be, then you also have an email address, which is that corresponding 6-digit number at student.lucol.ac. Okay. Now we will use that as a primary email address, and we will encourage you to check that from time to time. However, if there is anything that we desperately need you to have, we will make sure that it gets to your private email address too, and I'll share that in combination with Bobby and Joelle, and obviously the systems we've got set up to communicate with you. So there will be that email address in the background. We will send you some stuff to that, but again, if it's really vitally important that you get it and there's some time urgency, I'll make sure that we get that information to you. And if you ever forget the password to that, there is also, and again, this is shared in this presentation, there is also a web address that you can go on to reset your password. So, you know, so there are easy mechanisms to kind of recover that. Worst case, send me a message and I can sort of talk you through that process. So I'm not going to share that too long. What that email address does allow you access to, though, is something that Bobby referred to earlier, which is a website called Believe Perform. So believeperform.com, which, as you may be able to see on the screenshot that I've done, is also one of the bookmarks I've got on my Chrome account, is a website that's got a whole lot of information around performance psychology, well-being, and mental health. Casper Faramond, who you're going to talk to later this morning or later this afternoon, actually has produced some content for these guys as well, and he's also got access to this package as well, so he can see maybe some of the stuff you're looking at. The other Handball staff will also have access to this, so equally you can engage in conversations around some of the infographics, some of the courses, and we'll send some of these to you as kind of recommended reading. Your access to that is via use of the Loughborough College student account. Okay, so your username will be your 6-digit password at student.lucal.ac.uk, and your password will be those same 6 digits. So those 9 of you that are at Loughborough College should possibly be aware of that number. I know some of you I've sent it to again this morning, and I can share that with you, so you can almost log on to this straight away. Those others of you, I'll get this to you. We'll get your user ID to you in the next couple of days. The college should do that automatically as it enrolls you, but I'll certainly back that up with a message to you, just sharing that with you personally as well, so you've got that. And you can log on and look at the resources on there. There is a great resource, for example, that might fall out of some stuff you talked about this afternoon. On the Introduction to Sports Psychology course, there's a unit on goal setting, for example, that might be a good refresher. We'll also send you a learner handbook, and I'll ping that out to you today, so you can have a browse through what is, again, quite a generic, ideally it's a college-based handbook, but we do send this out to all of our learners, so apologies if you get that a couple of times. And again, if you're struggling to fall asleep, this is some good bedtime reading. In all seriousness, there is some useful stuff in here as well. The second part of the process, which is where I think 6 of you hadn't yet, your responses hadn't come through, was to do a program confirmation. So again, it takes about 42.03 minutes to complete. Some slightly less than that, obviously some slightly more. You know what an average is, the mean score. So please go on and do that if you haven't done so already. And then for all of you, we require you to do some mandatory training around safeguarding, equality and diversity, and prevent, which is about anti-radicalization. We appreciate that for almost all of you, minus the 9 of you that are coming to the college, that you will probably be asked to do this at your college as well. Okay, and again, it's just one of those things that we have to cover as part of a learning program for you, that we have seen that you have done this element of training. Those of you at Loughborough College, you can go on to this and do this. When you get asked about this, when you go and do your induction this week, then again, it might be worth a conversation with your tutors to show them where you've done this already, if you've had the chance to do it. But we will check up and go through that. So just very, very quickly, just to give you a couple of screenshots. So the safeguarding one takes about 20 minutes to do, and it tells you what you're going to cover and what you need to do to complete that. The equality and diversity one takes about 30 minutes. And again, you need the same sort of thing. There's assessment at the end with 10 questions. The prevent one, which also talks about British values, takes about 30 minutes to do. Okay, and it's got the link there. What I would recommend you do, as I've put at the bottom of this slide here, where it's just repeated what the links are to those, and again, I'll show you this as a document so that you can get those, is to screenshot the final page. So when you get confirmation that you submitted all your answers, I think it also gives you a results page after that. Screenshot both of those. And then again, what I will be asking you for in the next couple of weeks is for you to send those through to me. And again, if it's easiest for you to do that through WhatsApp, I'm totally happy to do that. And just on that one, if you weren't aware, WhatsApp has a web-based version, so you can actually WhatsApp from your laptop, from your tablet, and that might make it easy to share screenshots rather than trying to do everything through your phone. Your phone needs to be on and WhatsApp enabled, but if you do use that, then again, there's a really good mechanism for that. And then one of the final things for you to do as part of your induction is or it says here, the first part of your induction is also to do an induction quiz. So again, what I'll do is I'll set this out in an email to you, which shares with you both a Loughborough College handbook and also a DiSE Learner handbook, and the covers kind of go together, which actually shows you and takes you through the steps to do that. And we'll set a deadline of when we want that achieved by. Okay, so if I come off screen share for a minute, sorry, let's just go back up. So are there any further questions that anyone has? And I appreciate the default answer is probably no, because my head is blown and my mind is just exploding through all of that information. But if anyone's got any burning questions for right now, or if you just want to give me the thumbs up. I just saw Alex's mum appear in shot. Just say to your mum that I loved her video she did regarding England handball a couple of years ago. I can't remember her name, but I think I followed her on our Twitter account, or maybe my personal Twitter account, which again I'll probably share with you. You'll probably see appear. I'm quite happy for you to connect with me that way. So nothing urgent, nothing in the chat, and I think we've reached 11:15. So I think Bobby has just shot off to do something else. Bobby, are you still there?
Yes, John, I'm still here, mate.
I think that's me done. Don't know whether Joao or yourself wanted to add anything to that.
No, thanks for that, John. All like real useful information for the guys. The last thing really to say is that that the session is with Castro at I think it's the girls first at 12. I can't remember which way around it was, 12 and 1 o'clock of the sessions. But the links are all in the email that was sent out, and Castro's ready for you guys when you're ready to start. So yeah, that's it from me. I need to jump out because I'm also in the process of moving as well. Yeah, I'll catch you guys later on in the goal setting session, hopefully.
Okay, brilliant. So see you all at 12. I'll be dipping into the session at 12 with you as well. So, or at 12 or 1 o'clock with you as well. So, but again, if you need anything, like Nick has asked for enrolment stuff, I'll send that to you directly in a second, Nick. But do feel free to message me throughout the day. This is all I'm doing today. So you've got my full and undivided attention as my girls have now gone out and the house is quiet. Excellent. Right, so I'll log off the call and I shall see you all later.
Thanks, John. Cheers, guys.